Good morning, everybody from Lille, and welcome to our webinar on financial reporting. My name is Ilaria Piazza. I am Projects Finance Coordinator in the Interreg Europe Joint Secretariat. So today we will provide some guidance on financial reporting. And in the next slide, you can see that our objective of today is, first of all, to have a first session which will last approximately 1 hour, where we will reply to your questions on financial reporting. Many of you already sent us questions in advance, so thank you very much for this. We will start with taking those questions. And then there will be a second session. The second session is really specifically dedicated to partners coming from the 7 EU candidate countries that were integrated in first and second call projects with the restricted call. So during the second part, we will start this part at around 11. We will have a short presentation, and then, of course, you will also have the opportunity to ask questions. A reminder that we use Slido. So in your next slide, I think you can see that we will use the Slido, this tool that you can use to ask questions. So join us at slido.com, either by taking the QR code or using the hashtag Interreg Europe reporting. So please use the Slido to answer your questions. There is also a chat in Zoom, but this is mainly to interact with us. I see that a lot of people are already saying good morning from wherever you are, so this is very nice. But please use Slido for questions, because we will take questions received only through Slido. But then let me introduce as well my other colleagues. I will not be the only one talking this morning with you. So we have Anne Rostow, Finance Officer. Hello, Anne. And Vincenzo Capocasale, who will also be with us, and they will both helping me in addressing your questions. I think we can immediately start and see what questions we received. As you see, we already have a good number, but don't hesitate to send questions also live. We will do our best to reply to them. So I think we can start with the first question. The first question we have, I see on the list, is about the task assignment letters. So a question on staff costs. We received many of them. So the first one is, are task assignment letters a prerequisite, or they can be substituted by other official documents, such as employees' contracts? So maybe, Anne, you can start with this question, please.
Thank you, Ilaria. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for submitting your questions on Slide already. Well, the task assignment letter is a document that needs to describe the task that will be complied with by the staff, and but of course it can be either through the task assignment letter, or this task can be described already in the employee contract. What we need to see, what the controller needs to see, is this list of tasks and the percentage that correspond to the staff dedication during the project. So both the list of tasks and the percentage dedicated to the project. This can be included in the contract or in a task assignment letter. Both are possible.
Thanks, Anne. I also see that the next question is about the fact whether we have a standard task assignment letter template Yes, we do. It's uploaded on our website, and maybe I ask my colleagues from the communication team who are also supporting us today with the technical side of the webinar if they can include a link. So yes, thanks, Hannah. Maybe we continue with the fixed percentage, because we know that staff costs are really the most. We receive a lot of questions about staff costs. So can the fixed percentage of a person working in the project change within the same semester? I will now ask Vincenzo to intervene on this question, please.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, and good morning, everyone. And yes, thank you also for this question. And so can the fixed percentage of a person working in the project change within the same semester? Well, ideally, the fixed percentage of a person working in the project should be defined at the beginning of the project, and ideally it shouldn't change. Like, so you should really try to carefully estimate the task and the involvement of this person at the beginning of the project. So ideally it shouldn't change. But then, of course, if the involvement of this person during the project changes, so the task, for example, of a person are changing because this person might be assigned to another project, and so the involvement of this person might actually decrease on the original project, then in that case, if the task change, likely the involvement of this person is going to change, which means that also the fixed percentage might change, and this may happen within the same semester.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo, for reminding the principal, yes, that indeed the fixed percentage should not change. You should fix it. You should consider the average involvement of the person in the project, and only if there is a change in the responsibilities, then it could be changed. So let's take another question. Now we are no longer, it's no longer about staff costs. Anonymous, actually, I forgot to say that it would be nice when you send a question that you also indicate your name. It's nice to see the name behind the question. So please, if you submit further questions, don't hesitate to tell us your name. So the question reads, should a photo of the project's poster placed in our premises be uploaded as a supporting document? And what about our obligation to present the project in our institution website? So what supporting documents should we provide for this? And so do we need supporting document for this? And what kind of documents should this be? Maybe Anne, you can take this question.
Yes, thank you. Well, the project poster, in order to demonstrate to the controller that it is visible in your premises, in your office, yes, you should take a picture of it and upload it in the supporting document in the portal, which is where the controller will check all the documents that you provide to support the costs. Then regarding the presentation of the project on your website, well, the controller will be able to check on your website directly. So you do not need, in principle, to provide any supporting document, but still, if needed, you can double check with your controller if they would need any screen print of your website if needed. But in principle, the controller can check your website directly.
Thanks, Anne. And another question about supporting documents. This time is about equipment. So what are the supporting documents we need to upload for the purchase of equipment, for example, a laptop that is not subject to depreciation? So maybe Vincenzo, you can
Sure.
take this question, please. Thanks.
I can take this question, and yes, supporting documents for the purchase of equipment. Well, first of all, it's really important, to underline that you will need to provide evidence of compliance with the applicable public procurement rules, so that basically this equipment was bought according to the applicable public procurement rules at EU national or internal level. And then basically you will need a document such as an invoice proving the cost and that you have paid for such an equipment, the proof of payment. And I think that will be it. But also maybe another suggestion that we can give you, all the supporting documents are listed in the program manual in the description of the cost categories. So you may always look at the program manual in case of doubts and ask your controller if any additional supporting documents might be needed.
Thanks, Vincenzo. Now we have another question. It's about where we could find Excel templates for the financial report before submitting information to the portal, and instructions of the different ways to calculate person costs for timesheets. May I ask you, Vincenzo, again to take this question?
Yeah, sure,
Please.
sure. Actually, yeah. So an Excel template for the financial report. All the reporting happens online in the portal, but it is possible, of course, to download some the Excel to export the list of expenditure and the procurement list in Excel at any moment in time. So actually, in a specific section, there is the Submit tab under the financial report section. You can actually export the list of expenditure and the procurement in Excel, but otherwise the reporting happens online entirely on the portal. So you don't need to work on template. You can start working directly on the portal to do this, and then instructions of the different ways to calculate person cost for timesheets. So maybe here we can also say that since we adopt a fixed percentage, you don't need any timesheet, and the only thing that you need actually to calculate the staff cost is the task assignment letter or any other document where you can see the fixed percentage for the concerned employee, and then a document proving the gross employment cost of that specific employee. So if you multiply then the gross employment cost by the percentage of involvement of this person, then you get the cost that you have to report. And what is important also about the portal is that you have to report them for each employee month by month. So it needs to be one line, 1 month. And I hope this answers more or less like all the different aspects of this question. So otherwise, yeah, you can ask further.
Thanks, Vincenzo. Before taking the question from Melissa that I see on the top of the list, I see we have another question about the fixed percentage. How should the percentage to be included in assignment letters be calculated? Can the percentage vary from semester to semester? So again, a question about this. I think my colleagues already explained a bit how to calculate the percentage and whether it can change. I also take the opportunity to remind you that we have some tutorial videos on staff cost. There is specifically one that really goes into the details how the percentage should be calculated. In any case, what you have to pay attention to, what you need to consider is really the average involvement of the person in the project compared to their other general tasks. So what percentage the project tasks represent out of their overall tasks and assignments. And whether it can vary from semester to semester, in principle, no. The percentage can only be adjusted if there is really a change in the responsibilities of the partner in the project, of the employee in the project. For instance, if they were, I don't know, if they were following all the, if they were responsible for preparing the financial report, and then suddenly they are not doing this task anymore, they are doing something else, they are doing much less work on the project. So in that case, it's justified that it changed, but it's only in these cases. So in principle, the percentage should not change. Now, I think I will take the question from Melissa. Thanks for indicating your name. Can we report costs for the stakeholders from our own institution under external expertise and services? I think Melissa refers to travel costs. So can travel costs for stakeholders coming from the partner institution be reported under external expertise? Maybe Anne, if you want to take this question, please.
Yes, thank you, Melissa, for this question, because it gives us the opportunity to clarify here what is a stakeholder from your own institution. Actually, if a person participates in your project but has an employment contract in your own institution, they are considered as staff. They are not considered as stakeholders. Stakeholder is someone that is not employed by your organization. It's someone that is external. So in this case, even if it's someone from another department, another service of your organization, of your partner organization, they will be considered as staff, and therefore their travel and accommodation cost will be covered by the flat rate.
Yes, thanks, Anne, for explaining this principle. Yes, no matter the level of involvement or the role of the person in the project's activities, if they are employed by the partner organization, the travel costs are covered by the flat rate. So let's take another question. This time is about the conflict of interest strategy. So if there is a conflict of interest strategy, shall we upload it as a supporting document? Is there a problem if some partners have such a strategy and some others don't? Vincenzo, can you please reply to this question? Thanks.
Yes, thanks a lot. So uploading a conflict of interest strategy might be relevant, for example, if your controller asks you to, and it might be relevant in case, for example, like you need to contract some external services and you need to launch a public procurement procedure, and then in that case it might be relevant. So maybe you can also consult your controller on whether like you need to upload such a document, but in several cases, like this might be necessary. And then regarding the second part of the question, what we could say is that most public authorities are supposed to have a conflict of interest strategy. So we guess that most of the partners involved in our projects, they have a conflict of interest policy within their organizations, and supposedly also the other private nonprofits. So usually, yeah, they should have a conflict of interest strategy. I don't know if this answered the question, but in case you can get back to us.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo. I think the message is, yeah, it is recommended to have this in place, to have this conflict of interest strategy in place, yes. Then the next question is proving the salaries for the auditor in Finland. So question coming from a Finnish partner. Do they have own list of demands, or are there overall instructions that are used on program level? Apparently, the demands regarding the supporting documents may sound strange. So, Anne, can you maybe provide some general guidance on this point?
Yes, this question seems to be very specific to one situation in Finland with a controller. So we invite you first to double check with your controller. But just to remind you, the control in principle follows, well, what is explained in the program manual, the list of supporting documents that are requested in the program manual. And also at the end of the program manual, you can find the control checklist that the controller will follow, and where you can find each of the points that the controller will check. So it can be helpful if you need maybe to understand what the controller will ask you. But again, if this question is very specific, we cannot reply now, but you may check with your controller what is the need of specific supporting document.
Thanks, Anne. We then have another question. I would actually like to take the question which is about the payment date, because we receive it quite often, so I think it's good to address it. If the actual payment date of an invoice is after the semester has ended, the cost has to be reported for the next semester, even if the service is provided during the first semester and the invoice is received, but only the actual payment is after the semester. Maybe this will give us the opportunity to clarify this point. Maybe Vincenzo, you want to clarify this?
Yes, sure. Well, basically the costs have to be reported, like, yeah, the shortest answer that we can give is that costs have to be reported when they are actually paid. So even if the invoice has been issued, but like the costs have not been paid, then you cannot report the costs until they are paid. So if they're going to be paid in the following semester, this is when we would expect you to report them. And this, of course, also means that, like, you know, for some costs, like the related activities might happen a bit before, which means, like, yeah, that you will report the activity as such in the semester when it happens, but then the cost may be reported a bit later. And this is also why, like, during the project application, we recommend, we give recommendations about the fact that the spending plan reflects the activities, but let's say also with some delay. I don't know if this answers completely the questions, or we can add something else on that.
No, I think this clarifies rather well. In short, if the payment happened after the end of the reporting period, the cost cannot be reported in that progress report, in that financial report. In fact, I think the question highlights also that the portal shows an error for this. Indeed, the portal will have an error message. In the financial report, you will get an error message if you will try to insert a cost. And you will indicate a payment date that is after the end of the period. So that's why the portal shows an error. It's because this is not in line with the program rules.
Exactly. Yeah, there is a validation check on the portal that basically prevents you from reporting costs that are after the end of the reporting period.
Okay, thanks, Vincenzo. Then I think we can take another question. it's about costs. So partner reported the cost of renting the bus to transport participants, both project partners and stakeholders, to the event location. So the question is, should the transport cost for project staff be calculated and reported under travel and accommodation as a flat rate or not? I think this is also a very interesting question, and I will ask Anne to clarify this point. Thanks.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for this interesting question. Because as partner, you will host some meetings, interregional meetings with your partners, and you will be in this situation every time. So the principle is, as it is explained in the program manual, the cost of the services that are necessary to organize an event, to organize an external activity, can be claimed under, can be reported as external expertise and services. So we understand here that you will have staff, you will have stakeholders, you will have your own participants in the meeting, in the transport, in the activity, in a study visit, and you can report the cost for this specific activity under external expertise and services under the item that is called exchange of experience meetings.
Thanks, Anne. Yes, indeed, these costs are considered costs to organize the meeting, for the organization of the meeting, so they can be reported under external expertise. Then I will go to another question. Can the travel costs for external experts related to an event occurring in the next reporting period be reported in the current period, provided that the beneficiary has submitted all evidence confirming that the event took place? Maybe Vincenzo, you can take this question because we already talked a bit about when costs can be reported or not. So please, thanks.
Yes, sure. So yeah, costs should be reported in the, as we said, like in the reporting period when they are paid. So ideally, yeah, I mean, it could be actually possible in this case, like if you have already incurred the cost and paid them, to report them in the current progress report, even though the event might actually happen afterwards. In the next one. And yeah, what is important also is that yeah, that there is evidence that the event already took place, and then it will also be up to your controller then to follow up on this, meaning that in case you actually report, for example, some cost for an event that is supposed to happen like a little bit later, in case, for example, you do some advance payment, if this is a common practice in your organization, then it will be up to the controller to follow up that this event actually takes place in the following semester. So in this case, from the information that you're providing, like since the costs are paid and the event is confirmed, that there is evidence that the event is confirmed, you might be able, like, yeah, to report some costs and could be considered eligible and reported in the current progress report.
Thanks, Vincenzo. I will actually ask you to take this other question that is coming up, and it's about what is the action if I assume the financial controller identifies ineligible costs in the already certified partner report. Which section of portal provides this possibility?
Okay, so yeah, pretty straightforward question, I would say. So if the progress report where the financial report is included is still open, is still being either or not submitted at all, then you can actually correct this already in the financial report that you're working on. Like ideally, of course, like, you know, when you do your control, like you should be able to identify all the ineligible expenditure. But if for any reason you identify it later after the report is certified and the report has not been included in a progress report that has been approved, then you can always like ask the partner to send you back the report so that you can actually correct the ineligible expenditure. Or in case this happens, like you realize that there is an eligible expenditure only later after the progress report has been approved and paid, then in that case, in the portal, there is a specific section, there is a specific module that is dedicated to financial correction. So you will be able to correct such an eligible expenditure in this part of the portal.
Thanks, Vincenzo. There is another question also about portal. Will the partner submit the last partner report to the financial controller through the portal in the follow-up phase? I think I can quickly take this question. Yes, the financial report will also be submitted in the portal. All financial reports will have to be submitted through the portal. The reporting will happen online on the portal. There is another question on the portal, so I'm sorry, I will have to ask you again, Vincenzo, to take it. And it's about whether the program consider allowing the uploading of zip files in the supporting documents. This is a question we often receive, so I think it's nice if we can clarify this. Thanks.
Indeed. I think we received it also in the webinar on reporting last year. So yeah, we understand like the reason why you might want like to upload zip files, because like this actually gives you the opportunity to upload multiple files at times. But for the moment, it's not possible to upload zip files because like this would actually, how to say, defeat a bit like the purpose of another feature that we have in the supporting document section, that is like the tagging option. So for every document that you are uploading in the supporting section, you can actually tag them in order also to help the work of your controller. So for example, you can identify documents that are related to the staff cost, or you can tag documents with the period that they refer to. So the tagging will be problematic if you upload a zip file with all the documents there. So for the moment, zip files not possible, but there might still be possibilities for you to upload, to avoid, for example, uploading multiple documents, to avoid uploading, like, let's say, several documents. So for example, like you could think about having the payslips of your employees in one document per each employee. I mean, you don't have to upload one payslip at a time with one separated document and tag all of them. It could be, for example, like one PDF document with all the payslips in the reporting period for one employee. But on all these matters, I think like also the best suggestion that we can give you is to discuss and agree how to upload documents and how to tag them, and also how to name them, to give them meaningful names with your controller. So really discuss with your controller what's the best for both of you to work on the supporting document section in the portal.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo. Indeed, we receive often these questions. So I think it's also good to say that, uploading zip files is not possible. It will never be possible. It's not in line with how the supporting document sections is designed and how the principles that you should follow when you upload the documents and use the tags that are available. And yes, sorry, Vincenzo, you want to add something?
Yeah, I wanted to add, actually, I don't know if it was clear also from the things I said, that it's possible to upload anyway multiple documents at once. So you can actually, when you click on upload, then you will see that you can select more than one document. So yeah, this might also be helpful in case you need to upload several documents in the supporting document section.
Yeah, thanks, Vincenzo, for adding this point. I see that there is another question about the fixed percentage, so which maybe we can take, and I will ask Anne to say a bit more and clarify about this. Is it okay for the actual effort used for the project to fluctuate between semesters? For example, for some people, the actual work does not start right at the start of the project, because the beginning might be more about setting up an organization of the project. What can we say more about it? Do you have any other advice? Because I see people are wondering all the time about these issues.
Yes, we understand also it's a change. It's a change we implement now in this new period. So you have to get used to it. So basically, you take the duration of your project, and from the start, when the staff starts to be involved in the activities until the end of the project, you make an average of the time that the staff will dedicate to this project. And this is an average. So it means at the beginning, they may be less involved. As you explained, they will be about setting up and organizing the project. So maybe it's a bit different. There will be the core activity in the middle of the 4 years, and then there will be the end that will be about closure. So we understand you will make an average, and you will apply this average for the whole duration of the project. That's why we ask you to calculate this percentage, to calculate this time dedication, and this percentage, you put it down in a task assignment later. where you list these tasks, and you may list the different periods of your project, how you calculated this percentage. If you want to provide some details, this is up to you to decide it and to define this percentage. Now, as we explained already, it is possible to have some changes. It has to be still exceptional and it has to be justified. We explained a few situations. If there is a change in the staff responsibilities, or if there is a staff member that leaves the team, then we understand there is a change and you need to adjust the percentage that you defined at the beginning of the project. But basically, this is a fixed percentage, so it has to be fixed at the beginning of the project and to be applied for the whole duration of the project. That's the principle.
Thanks, Anne. We now have another question on staff costs again. Which work contract should have a member of the staff who is retired that will enable her to work for the project during its duration? Vincenzo, what can we say about this question?
Yes, thanks a lot. This is, I would say this is a very specific question that is like, how to say, context related, meaning that, yeah, the best suggestion that we can give you is like to consult maybe your national contact point to see whether in your country there is any form of employment contract that would allow a person who is officially retired to keep on working on the project. And then I'm assuming like, yeah, that also in your question, you mean to report the cost for this person under staff costs. So yeah, it should be an employment contract, but let's say the person who is most suited, like, or in the best position to answer this question is your national contact point. And you can find the contact of the national contact points on our website in the country specific section on our website.
Thanks, Vincenzo. I also see that the next question, what kind of work contract should be for the staff member who are somewhere employed but will work for the local community in Serbia only during the project? I think, I'm afraid we have to give a similar reply as the one Vincenzo just gave on this question. It seems to be a very specific case that might be different in different countries, and here you are talking about Serbia. So we advise to check with your national contact point, or also with your lead partner, who can then get in touch with their policy and finance officer, because I'm afraid it would be difficult for us to give here a specific and relevant reply to this very specific question. So I would then pass to the other question. We have 4 payments. 1 for salaries, 2 for taxes, 1 for insurance. If all these were not paid by 30th of September, which is the end of the first reporting period for second call projects, we decided to report the staff months in the next semester. But is it possible to report the part that has already been paid in the first semester and report the rest in the next? Maybe Anne, you want to take this question, please?
Yes, thank you, Ilaria. Yes, well, let's take this payment into detail, and you will be able to report part of the cost that has been paid before 13th of September. For example, if the salary has been paid before 30th of September, you can report it in September. And then the costs that have been paid after, at the beginning of October, for example, the taxes or the insurance, they will be reported in this next semester. This is possible. In that case, it means that you need to detail 1 line per cost in your report, so that you need to have 1 line for the salary, and then in the following report you will have 1 line for the taxes and 1 line for the insurance. Depends on the date of payment. As a principle, in your in your report, if you would keep it as a whole, you would take the latest date of payment. So then you would keep the salary, the taxes, and insurance in the next in the next financial report. So that's a good option, what you mentioned, to separate the salary and the taxes and insurance. So it allows you to claim the salary. This will be especially important at the end of your project, when you will have the closure date of your final report, when you will be able to claim only what has been paid by the end date of your project.
Yes, thanks, Anne. We have another question that is about a draft audit report. Is it provided and where to find it? I'm afraid that I have to ask the person who asked this question to be a bit more specific if they want to have a proper answer from us, because we are not sure if you're referring to the control report, if you're referring to the financial report. So if you can please, if you can please specify a bit more, and then we will be happy to answer this question. So I would move on to another question. At this line, associated policy authorities, stakeholders, exchange of experience, travel and accommodation, external bodies. What can we do and pay? So I'm assuming that, yes, the person is wondering what cost can they report associated to this item in the application form. So maybe Vincenzo, you can clarify this, please.
Yes, sure. So for this specific type of cost, and in this cost category that is external expertise and services, you will normally report all the costs related to travel and accommodation for people that are not employed by the partner organization, which basically means most of the cases stakeholders, and of course the associated policy authority, as we like to call them, the golden stakeholder, and in general costs for external experts that might be involved in project activities. So basically all those travel and accommodation costs that are not related to staff cost.
Thanks, Vincenzo. Another question about staff cost. If there's a concept on the payslip of an employee that responds to salary that in whole or in part have accrued previously to the beginning of the justification period, should this expense be excluded to the total monthly salary costs? Vincenzo, maybe you can also take this question.
Yeah, sure.
Please.
Maybe here we can underline the general principle that is like if the costs are part of the gross employment cost that the employer is paying for the employees, and if they happen within the eligibility period of the project, then they might be considered eligible. But like since it's a bit specific and it might actually be related to the specific context of your organization and your country, maybe also on this, like we might suggest you to actually consult your controller, who might give you more clarity on whether like those costs could be considered eligible or not. Because like here, like there is an element of doubt that comes from the fact that such costs have been accrued, which is not clear whether they've been actually paid maybe, or they come from a period that is maybe before the eligibility period. So this is why we would advise you some caution and to double check with your controller.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo. I now see a question about the lead partner. I think I will take this one because it allows us to clarify also some general principle on what the lead partner is expected to do when they are preparing the progress report. So should the lead partner check the financial reports of all partners before they are submitted to their FLC, so to their controller? Maybe Anne, you can clarify this thing.
Yes, yes, sure. Well, actually, the lead partner does not have the responsibility to check the financial report before the submission to the controller. It will be because actually the lead partner cannot know the local legislation of the partner. For example, a lead partner is Spanish. They cannot know the regulation for Bulgarian pay slips, for example. This will be the responsibility of the controller. However, once the report has been certified by the controller, the lead partner has the responsibility to go through the list of expenditure and the costs that are claimed to make sure that they are consistent with what has been implemented in this semester. For example, that if a partner is claiming costs for a stakeholder that traveled to a study visit, the lead partner knows if the stakeholder was in this study visit or no, for example. So this is more the role of the lead partner is more to have an overview according to the activities and to check if the costs are in line with the program manual, with the costs that are eligible as well. But the check of the expenditure themselves and the supporting documents and such, actually the lead partner doesn't have access to the supporting document. They cannot check in detail the financial report of the project partners.
Yes, thanks. And indeed, you described well what is the job of the lead partner when it comes to the joint progress report. Of course, we know that in practice, some lead partners like to have to screen a little bit the financial reports before they are submitted to the controller so that they can already detect if there are some clear errors, and then to speed up a bit the process so that the partner can already submit like a financial report to the controller without these errors. So the lead partners can see the financial report in the portal before, in view only rights before they are submitted to the controller. But yes, indeed, their actual job comes after the certification, before the reports are included in the joint progress report as unexplained. We have another question about the financial report. In the activity summary in the financial report, do you just describe activities relating to the expenses in that report? This is an interesting question. So I will ask Vincenzo to clarify a bit. Yes, what is the activity summary in the financial report? What do we expect to see there?
Sure. Well, the activity summary is actually meant as a tool to help you and your controller to exchange information. So concretely, actually, you can use it for reporting activities that have actually happened in that semester, and like to help your controller to actually make a link between the cost that you're reporting and those activities. So maybe one important point of attention is that the activity summary in the financial report does not get exported. It's not part of the activity and results reporting. It is a different thing that is done through either the lead partner who collects information about the activity carried out, or through the policy report. So this is a different thing. So the activity summary in the finance report is really meant as a tool for you and your controller to exchange information about the activities that happened, in order for the controller to be able to make a link with the cost that you're reporting.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo. So we have a question now that is there a possibility to have a quick access to the financial agreements of Interreg projects? We joined in 2024 and project started in 2023. I have to be honest, I'm not sure exactly to what financial agreements the person is talking about. If it's a partner coming from one of the 7 EU candidate countries, and maybe they are referring to the financing agreements, we will cover this in the second part of the webinar. In general, what we can say is that if the question refers to this, there are financing agreements that still have to be signed among the Commission, the new partners, the new countries, and the managing authority, and this is still in process. So we cannot really say much more about it. It is expected that the signature process to end by the end of the year, but of course we have, as JS, we really have no control or more information on this, in case the question was referring to this. Otherwise, if it's not your question, please just rephrase it so that we can provide an appropriate answer. There is now a question about the document reference number for staff cost declaration. Again, the question is not really super clear. I guess you may refer to the column in the financial report where you have to provide a reference number in the list of expenditure, where you have the opportunity to put a reference number. But I think probably this is something that you should check directly with your controller. I don't know, Vincenzo, if you want to add anything on this on the portal side.
Yeah, maybe like what we could say is that with regards to the staff cost, like for example, like in the lines when you are specifying like the staff cost for a specific month and a specific employee, then the document reference number could simply be, for example, the reference number of the payslip, if this is what you're referring to, of course, or you may specify the month of the payslip. But yeah, if otherwise, like you can get back to us with more elaborated question.
Yes, and also to remind you that for staff costs, the column document reference number is not compulsory, so you may leave it empty. In the portal, I think you can also check when you check for, I think there is a button, Vincenzo, again, correct me if I'm wrong, where you're filling in your list of expenditure, where you can click and check where there are validation marks, let's say, so where you really have to provide the information, so you cannot submit without that information, or if you can leave that column blank, which is the case of the document reference number for staff costs.
Yeah, so yeah, actually it goes automatically, like basically as soon as you need to fill in a field and it's not filled in correctly or anything else, like you will see an error message on the portal in the list of expenditure.
Okay, thanks, Vincenzo. Then we have another question, also about supporting documents from Lorraine. Hi, Lorraine. What supporting documents do we need to accompany staff costs? Do we need to upload EFTS, which I'm not sure what it is, and bank statements? But I think we can draw some general guidance from this question. So maybe Anne, you can say something about it. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Lauren, for this question that will give us the opportunity to clarify the supporting documents for the staff cost. So, well, they are listed in the program manual. So in order to report staff cost, you need to include an employment contract or any employment agreement that is signed by the employee and the partner organization. You need a document that states the responsibility, the task of the staff member, and their percentage of dedication of time dedicated to the project. That is the task assignment letter that we mentioned, but it can be another document if it corresponds to this. And you need the payslip or any document that details the gross salary cost of the staff that will be the one that will help the controller check the cost, that to this gross employment cost, the controller will check that the calculation of applying the percentage defined in the task assignment letter to the gross employment cost is fine in the list of expenditure. And then you need, in addition, a proof of payment that is different from the payslip. It's the payment. So you mentioned a bank statement, for instance, it can be a proof of payment. And I don't know what is EFT either. I'm guessing it could be timesheet maybe that you are referring to. So in this case, there is no need for timesheet. Again, this is the good news in our program that you do not need timesheet. And so only the documents that I mentioned, the employment contract or similar document, the time dedication, task assignment letter, or another document with the list of task and percentage, the gross employment cost, and the proof of payment. That's it.
Thanks, Anne. In general, also the advice we can give you when it comes to very specific supporting documents, don't hesitate to check directly with your controller. It will be them who will check these documents, who will have to certify your costs. So they are in the best position to tell you what they need to do their control work. We now have another question. Is it possible to reimburse external parties from the budget? Is that included in external staff costs? For example, stakeholders that contributes. Maybe Vincenzo, I can ask you to clarify a bit what type of costs we can reimburse to stakeholders.
Sure.
Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's important to underline that stakeholders are essential for the success of the project and for the policy improvement to be achieved in each region, which is why they are involved in the project activities, and the costs that are reimbursed for stakeholders are travel and accommodation costs. And this is also because stakeholders are participating in project activities because they have an interest in the topic and in the policy addressed by project partners. So in that sense, their costs for travel and accommodation are reimbursed, but they are not reimbursed for their participation as such, meaning that they do not actually receive, how to say, a fee for their participation. And like it's also maybe important, like to make a distinction between a stakeholder that is essential for the achievement of a policy improvement from a different, let's say, actor in your project that is an external expert. External experts are providing services. They do not necessarily have an interest in the project, so they are only providing services to project partners, and in that case, of course, like the fees for the external experts are eligible under external expertise and service, but it's a different thing from stakeholders.
Thanks, thanks, Vincenzo. Then there is a question from Charlotte. What are the requirements for the reporting documentation for the associated partner in the project? Do they have to sign a partnership agreement or similar? I assume, Charlotte, you are referring to the Associated Policy Authority, because in Interreg Europe, there is not really an associated partner status. Yeah, maybe Anne, you can quickly clarify this question, please. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Charlotte, for this question. And indeed, I also understand this would be Associated Policy Authority. Well, actually, the Associated Policy Authority doesn't have a budget in the application form. So they do not need any supporting documents to report, because they are not reporting any costs in every semester. They will take part of the activities, but they do not claim any cost directly as Associated Policy Authority. And regarding the partnership agreement, it's only for the partners involved in the partnership and reporting costs that need to sign the partnership agreement.
Yes, thanks, Anne. The next question is how to give access to the controller to the portal for the report validation. Maybe Vincenzo, you can quickly explain this principle.
Sure, sure. Also, because like this gives us the opportunity to underline that we also have like some video tutorials for controllers on our YouTube channel. So we have both video tutorials for partner reporting, but also video tutorials for controllers. So we invite you to have a look at those tutorials, because they are really useful, and actually they clarify also this point, meaning the appointment of a controller to a specific partner. This is done by the approbation body or by the main controller in case of countries where there is a centralized control system. So for countries with a decentralized control system, you should get in touch with your approbation body, whose contacts are available on our website in the country-specific section. And for countries with a centralized control system, then you should refer to the main controller, who will appoint a specific controller to your partner organization in the specific project.
Thanks, Vincenzo. I will now quickly address the question whether the JS needs to validate changes in project assignment rates. No, very straightforward answer. No, please see directly with your controller this. So the JS doesn't have to validate this. Then Celine asked, is it possible to ask revision from a previous reporting period, especially if costs have been omitted? If yes, what is the process to amend? So yeah, how to do if they want to add costs that were previously omitted in the report. Vincenzo, maybe we can clarify this point.
Yes. Well, if you haven't reported some cost in a previous reporting period, then it's always possible to report them later on, as long as they are always within the eligibility period of the project, meaning that they are incurred and paid by the end of the project, and that the activity actually takes care within the eligibility period of the project. So yeah, if, for example, like you have omitted some costs in semester 2, you will be able to report them in semester 3, just to make an example.
Yes, basically just add this cost in the list of expenditure of the following semester. Then we have a question about equipment. What if the budget of 700 euros for a computer is not enough and the partner covers the difference? The 700 euros are yet eligible? This is a question from Tudor. I'm not sure I fully understand the question, but I will ask Anne maybe just to clarify the general principles on equipment and yeah, how to report this cost. Thanks.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Ilaria, and thank you, Tudor, for this question. I understand the first part of this question, at least, that you have a budget that is planned for 700 euros for a computer, and at the end, the cost of the computer is a bit higher. So this is fine to overspend on one item as long as it is justified. You explain, you will have a box in your financial report that will open, and you will have to justify that the cost of the computer was higher than it was planned. Anyway, to overspend on one item, it means that the partner will have to take some budget from another part of another cost category, another item that will be underspent. So this is also to be managed within the total budget eligible, the total budget approved of the project and of the partner. So this is part of the flexibility, but in principle, it is possible to overspend as long as it is justified.
Thanks, Anne. Then we have a question from Agnieszka. In our institution, the percentage employee engagement is defined in the scope of duties. Is it acceptable that the document is valid from 1st of December? But it is signed, yeah, we understand that the question is if it's okay that it's signed a bit later. Will the engagement be counted as from 1st of September, even if it's signed a bit later? I think I can quickly say about it that, well, in the program manual, the rule is that usually the task assignment letter should be signed at the beginning of the project on which it applies. So usually this is the case. But of course, we understand, especially at the beginning of the project, if you need some time to still understand the involvement and see what is the actual percentage that you need to apply, it could be signed a little bit later. But of course, it should be signed as soon as possible. But yeah, if it's signed a little bit later, it can still, let's say the staff costs can still be fully reported from the beginning of the project. Although, of course, we expect you to sign it as early as possible. Then we have another question. How do preparatory expenses work? What does it contain and what do we need to control? So it looks like a question from a controller, and maybe it gives us the opportunity to clarify what preparation costs, so what the lump sum of preparation costs cover and what the controller should check. Maybe Vincenzo, you can clarify this.
Yes, sure. And thanks a lot for this question. What we can say is that it is a lump sum. And so this lump sum, the amount covers all the costs that are related to the preparation of the project as such, which might be, for example, the cost incurred by the lead applicant in drafting the project proposal, for example, the cost for a consultant who was supporting the project drafting, or also some costs for some preparatory meetings that occurred before the submission of the proposal and so on. So basically all the costs that are related to the preparation of the project. So what is important to say also is that those costs are out of the scope of the eligibility period, and also you do not need to prove the expenditure. So there is no need to provide supporting documents with regards to the preparation cost lump sum.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo. Basically, as with all simplified cost options, the control is very limited to check if the costs covered by the lump sum, in this case, are not reported in addition. So, very basic example we often make, if there was a consultant working and helping the lead applicant on the project proposal, they cannot include the invoice in the report because this is covered. This is covered by the lump sum. Then we have a question from Rosemary. Our national controller, Austria, wants travel documents delivered. Is it really necessary? My information was travel costs are a 15% flat rate. I want to be very straightforward and reply directly to this question, if you allow me. No, it's not needed. The flat rate is a simplified cost option, so there is no supporting documents to be provided to prove the actual travels. This is only if the partner reports cost on a real cost basis. So if the partner has a flat rate, this is not needed. The control check, as I said, as applying to simplified cost option, is focused on whether these costs already covered by the flat rate are reported somewhere else. So, for example, travel cost of an employee reported under external expertise. This is what the controller should focus on. They should not ask proof of the travels by the employees. Then I will take the next question. Levante, is a bank transfer launched in the reporting period but arrived after the reporting period eligible? Maybe Vincenzo, we can quickly clarify this.
What we will say in such a case is like the day that the amount is debited on the bank account of the beneficiary. So if the transfer is launched on the 30th of September, but then it's debited on the 1st of October, then that's the date of payment that you have to indicate in the list of expenditure. And depending on the reporting period, then it might be eligible in a semester or in the following one.
Thanks, Vincenzo. Then we have a question about the first report. So we are supposed to submit our first report soon, but we would like to skip it since very few costs have been incurred. Could you please explain if costs incurred in the first period can still be included in the second report, or if only the 6 months prior are allowed? Maybe, Anne, we can take this question to clarify a bit, what we expect in terms of reporting and timing by partners. Thanks.
Yes, sure. Indeed, we expect all partners to report every semester, and from the first semester, it's important for us to monitor your project. It's also important for your lead partner to have an overview on your spending as a partner and how it is going at project level. So it is important. However, we see sometimes some partners cannot report, so they cannot be on time to report. And in this case, it is possible to include the expenditure in the following report. It's the same as if some expenditure was omitted, it can be included in the following report. But again, the principle of reporting for us is that you report every semester. It's also important because your spending rate, we expect that you are that you are in line with the spending rate that is planned in the application form, and because we will monitor your underspending in case you have some at project level, and we will be very, very vigilant on this because we expect you to implement the activities and spend the budget that you have been allocated.
Yes, thanks, Anne. Then we have another question about timesheets. Is it possible to report with timesheets to avoid double reporting? Our staff is involved in European projects other than Interreg Europe, and it is difficult to identify the percentage of employment on the project. Vincenzo, maybe you can take this question to clarify our approach on this.
Yes, thanks a lot. And timesheets, as we said during this webinar and in our videos, are not necessary for the fixed percentage reporting of the staff cost in Interreg Europe. So you actually shouldn't fill in timesheets. And you might, however, use timesheets for any other European projects that your organization is involved to, and where your employees are actually assigned to. And you should ensure that basically the timesheets are filled in only for the remaining portion, let's say, of the time worked by this employee, and that they do not overlap with the time that is already assigned according to the fixed percentage to the Interreg Europe project. I hope that this answered enough the question.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo. There is another question. How can we report about costs if we haven't yet received any money and simply can't pay for this during this semester? And maybe you want to clarify this principle in Interreg Europe, please?
Yes, indeed. In our program, it is very clear in our program manual. It was very clear since application stage. We are not a program with pre-financing. We pay the partners, we pay the project, we pay the lead partners when the costs are reported. So this is a principle in our program. You must have known this from the beginning of the application form. So in case there is any issue, please contact us or your national contact point to solve this issue. But there is no pre-financing. You will only be reimbursed on the costs that have been spent already, and that will be reported in the partner financial report.
Yes, thanks, Anne. I also quickly looked at the chat and I saw that there was a comment from Pravda about the fact that travel, if it's for external experts, that documents are still necessary. This, I think, is in relation to the question we had before. Yes, of course, if the travel are for external experts, you need supporting documentation. Our reply was focusing on the fact that the partner, it was about the travel cost of employees, so the travel cost of the staff members, if they are calculated as a flat rate. But if there are costs for stakeholders, external experts, they are reported on a real cost basis on external expertise and services. And of course, all these travel documents will be required to certify the costs. We then have a question by Miroslava. Is a reward paid to stakeholder for participating in project meetings eligible? Can stakeholders be remunerated for participating in project meetings, or only their travel costs are eligible? I think we tackled this point already, but maybe we're not fully clear. So we can repeat it again, Vincenzo?
Yes, that basically stakeholders are participating in the project because of the interest they have in the topic addressed by the project and the policy that is addressed, because they are also essential for to achieve the policy improvements in each policy instrument. And what is paid is the travel and accommodation cost, as you're rightfully pointing out at the end of your question. And this includes, of course, also some daily allowances, but as such, a remuneration or a reward for the participation in the project, this is not foreseen.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo. Then we have a question from Stephen Franz. Can the lead partner send back the report to the partner on the portal in order to make changes? Can you go through the procedure, or do we need to wait for the controller confirmation? Maybe we can take this question a bit to explain a bit the workflow of the financial report, Vincenzo, and what can be done. Thanks.
Sure. Basically, the financial report is created by the partner organization, and once is complete by each partner organization is submitted to the controller. The controller will run the verification, and after that, if everything is fine, after controlling the expenditure included in the sample, then they would confirm the report, and at that point, you as partner organization will be able to submit it to the lead partner. And then the lead partner will be able to also to run some check and verification and to include it and compile it in the joint progress report along with the other financial report. So concretely, this means that if needed, the lead partner can send back the financial report to you in case, for example, the lead partner might have identified some ineligible expenditure that needs to be removed. Then in that case, the lead partner will reject the financial report, which will go back to you. Then you will submit it to the controller, and the controller would, for example, certify 0 if there was an expenditure that was in fact ineligible. And yeah, I think that maybe answer a bit the question, because I was describing the entire workflow, but I hope that that's on point.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo. I think it is. For staff cost, another question about staff cost. Is it possible to add only one line per semester per employee? Maybe Vincenzo, again, you said it, but let's repeat it, because this is very important, and also a bit the reasoning and the logic behind this.
Absolutely. And yeah, as we were saying also earlier, you have to report the staff cost for each employee by month. So each line is a month. Of course, then the amount change depending on the, better to say, the amount is defined by the fixed percentage for that employee. But you have to report it line by line per month per each employee. And also the reason why is this, it's because at program level, we have adopted the risk-based management verification methodology, where basically this very, how to say, articulated phrasing to say that basically controller will check the expenditure on a sample basis. And concretely, this means that, for example, for the staff cost category, 10 items will be selected from the list of expenditure. And this is also why we need to have many items in the list of expenditure to be reported line by line, month by month. And eventually the portal will actually extract out of the many items for staff cost, only 10 will be extracted, and those are the 10 that will be checked and verified by the controller, unless the controller, of course, decide to extend the sample based on their professional judgment.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo. I think I will take just a few questions more, and then we will move to the presentation to the new partners from the new countries. And then after the presentation, we will take an additional question until the time is over. And we also try, if we don't manage to reply to all the questions, we will also stay a bit longer to reply questions in written if there are some left. But let me take maybe 2 additional questions before we move to the presentation. One is from Karin. When you submit your report on the portal, is it normal that the tab confirm reject is in red? I think I can quickly reply to this. Yes, I assume you are a partner submitting to your financial controller. The tab confirm reject is for your controller to be confirmed, so to be clicked once they check the report and they confirm it. But Vincenzo, correct me if I'm wrong. He's nodding, so I'm saying so this is correct. So I can move to another question. As a public administration, do we need to upload payslips or a global screenshot of payment from our financial services? Okay. As Anne was explaining before when she was talking about the supporting documents, you need to upload payslips, and you will also need to upload a document that proves the payment, so a payment proof. So if a global screenshot of payment from your financial service is considered by your controller as a sufficient payment proof, then this is fine. You should check directly with them. But in any case, both are needed, both the payslips and both the proof of payment. Maybe I just take the last question and then we move to the presentation. From Camille, can the project leader submit previous expenses that were not presented on previous reports? Until when is this acceptable? Can they go back for 4 years on expenses from the entire project? And can you reply to this question, please?
Yes, thank you, Camille, for this question. It gives me the opportunity to remind the period of eligibility of cost, because if we said previously that, yes, you can submit the expenditure from your previous semester in the following report, that's possible, but of course you cannot go back 4 years back if you are at the beginning of your project, because the date of eligibility of your expenditure is the date of approval of your project. So in case of first call project, this is 13th of December 2022. And for second call project, costs are eligible from 12th of December 2023. So before that date, you cannot claim any cost. Well, anyway, all this, when you claim some cost from previous semester, the controller will check also that they were not claimed in the previous semester and that they are in line with what is expected with the activities and with the involvement of the staff.
Thanks, Anne, and thanks to all of you who are still asking us questions. But I think now it's the moment to move to our short presentation. So I will ask my colleague Ségolène to appear on screen and quickly, yes, providing a bit more guidance, especially relevant for the new partner states. But then after our short presentation, we will take the other questions that are still to be answered. Thanks. Thanks, Ségolène.
Thank you very much, Ilaria, and good morning to everyone. So I'll give a short break to my colleagues answering the questions. It's nice to see that you have so many. And I will be presenting now a short presentation focusing more on our new partners coming from the new partner states, the EU candidate countries. So there will be points targeting them directly, but there will be also some reminders that are applicable for all the partners. So let's start. The first point is in general for everyone, but we thought it would be good to remind you that we apply the lead partner principle. So it means that it is the lead partner who is in charge of your project management and coordination. And it is also the point of contact between your project and the managing authority and us at the Joint Secretariat. So if as a new partner you have a doubt or a question, your first contact should be the lead partner, and they should try to answer your question. In case of further doubts, then the lead partner would contact us directly at the GS. But your first point of contact, so the lead partner. Then we also included a slide about the eligibility period. So Anne and Vincenzo mentioned this quite a few times. So you also have a more visual slide here. So eligibility period is the period in which the costs are eligible. And it is the same for all the partners, no matter if you were included within the restricted call or from the start of the project. So it starts with the approval of the date of approval of the project. So for first call projects will be the 13th of December 2022. And for second call projects it will be the 12th of December 2023. So this is the beginning of the eligibility period. Then it ends with the project end dates. So will be in May 2027 for first call projects and in June 2028 for the second call projects. So you can see this line for the eligibility period. And if you join a project within the restricted call, then the official start dates of the activities were in March, the 1st of March 2024 this year, or the 1st of April 2024. So in principle, we think you won't have a lot of cost to report before these dates because it's when you started the activities. But just in case, for instance, if you had some cost to join the projects, a bit of staff costs, this is still possible thanks to this eligibility period that you can see here. Then about reporting costs, an important reminder is also that only the partners that have signed the partnership agreement can report the cost. So it's really important for you all, even if you joined recently this year, to sign the partnership agreement. And we have updated our templates so that there are also references to the financing agreements for the new EU candidate countries. So if you're a first call projects, you already had a partnership agreement signed before, you can either sign a new partnership agreement with all the partners, but what we usually see is that there is an addendum to this partnership agreement specifically between the lead partner and the new EU candidate countries partner joining the partnership. But really important so that you can report costs. Then more technically speaking, when it comes to the portal, you'll have to select a reporting period in your financial reports. And it depends which call you are in. So if you were in included in a first call project, then even though you only started the activities this year, you should still select the semester 1 as start date of the reporting period. So even though it is in 2023, and the end of the reporting period is the semester 3 ending in August. It is because in the portal, technically speaking, you were included from the very beginning of the project. And if you do not select this reporting period, then you will not be able to include the cost for your reporting period. So first call projects, even though you started the activity this year, you select from semester 1 to semester 3. In second call projects, then you just select the semester 1 as start dates and end dates as all the other partners. Okay, now let's discuss about an important topic, which is public procurement rules that should apply whenever you are doing a contract for external services. So these EU public procurement rules do not apply for EU candidate countries, but there are other rules that are available in the Annex 2 of the financing agreements. So these financing agreements are available, are not signed yet, but they're also available on our website. And we've done for you a quick summary so that it's easier to go through. So it's a summary with all the applicable procedures depending on the type of contracts and the amounts of the contracts. So you can also find it on our website, and Hannah will be sharing the links in the chat. About public procurements, we also wanted to mention conflict of interest here, and I think it was also a topic mentioned during the first Q&A part. So yeah, it is highly recommended to have a conflict of interest policy. Most likely, most of you already have one, so that's good. But in case not, that's something you should be looking at, because we've been noticing that auditors are looking at this aspect at the moment. So it might be useful to have one and to make sure you do not have any conflict of interest when procuring. Again, for public procurements, technically speaking, in the portal, you'll see that there is a specific tab for this, and that you should report in the portal all the contracts that are above 10,000 euros. It is not at all a public procurement threshold. It is just a reporting limit for us, but it does not mean this is a threshold for procuring. And even if you have contracts below 10,000 euros, so they will not appear in the portal, but there might be certain types of tender that apply. And if the contract, the costs related to this contract are included in the sample, then the controller might also check the invoices. We also wanted to mention for the new EU candidate countries who are not within the Eurozone how this works. So in the portal, you will be putting your cost in your currency, and they will be automatically converted in euro. We use the monthly exchange rate from the Commission, and the monthly exchange rate that will be used is the one of the months you submit the report to your controller. So even if at one point your controller needs to send back the report to you and there are some exchanges and back and forth, it will always be this first exchange rate that will be used. And then at the end, when the progress report is approved by the GS, the payment will be made to the lead partners in euros. All right, so now we'll go a little bit through different type of cost categories. And first, let's focus on staff costs. We could see that you have lots of questions about staff costs. So this applies for the new partners, but also to all different partners. So a little reminder for everyone that we have one calculation method, which is the fixed percentage. This fixed percentage should be set in a document. We call it the task assignment letter, but it can be something else. In this task assignment letter, so there are the different tasks of the member, the staff member listed, and the percentage of time to be dedicated to the project in consequence. So to calculate your staff costs, you just multiply the monthly gross employment costs by this percentage. As mentioned before, the task assignment letter is also, is available on our website. We have a template for that. And again, as a reminder that we've already mentioned, in the portal, you'll be reporting your staff cost by months. So 1 month equal 1 line. And it's really important for us so that the sample can be generated with different lines. That's the logic behind it. Then about staff cost again, we have the supporting documents to justify the staff costs that were also mentioned before. But as a reminder again, you'll be providing the task assignment letter or any other document where there is this percentage of time to be worked on the project. Then your employment contracts, the pay slips, and a proof of payment. In case of doubts, you can always check with your controller what they will be needing, especially since they will be the one doing the control. As we have this calculation method, the fixed percentage, you don't need to provide any timesheets, which is a simplification. Now let's go to a different cost category that we also mentioned, which is travel and accommodation. And let's start with the travel and accommodation for the staff. So anyone who is employed directly by your organization, their travel and accommodation costs are included in the travel and accommodation cost category. When joining the project partnership, you had to decide between two calculation methods for this travel and accommodation. Either the flat rate, which is the option recommended, usually speaking, by the program, or real costs, which might also be applicable for specific geographical location, or if you have low staff costs, for instance. So if justified, real cost is also an option. Anyway, you already decided which is the calculation method that you want to apply. This was approved. And the message here is that you will not be able to change the calculation method. So if you went for the flat rate in the application form, you will stick to the flat rate, and there will be no supporting documents to provide because it's a simplification. However, if it was justified and you decided to go for the real cost for any reason, then you will go for the real cost during the entire duration of the projects, and you will need to provide supporting documents for the travel and accommodation of your staff. Then let's go for travel and accommodation again, but for the stakeholders, which is different because there are people that are external to your organization. So their costs should be reported under external expertise and services. Again, in this cost category, external expertise and services, it can also be reported for external experts or associated policy authorities, their travel accommodation. A reminder here too is that you should keep track of the agreement you have with your stakeholders for their travel and accommodation, so that it can be justified afterwards. So for instance, it can be an invitation, an email, or any agreement, a collaboration agreement that you have with this stakeholder that you can keep, so that you can also explain afterwards what this person, the stakeholders was doing at the event, and that they were invited to this event. About the control, so I mentioned quite a few costs, and now the general principle that is that every semester when you report cost, your financial report should be verified and then certified by your controller. However, when it comes to on-the-spot checks, we wanted to mention that because it might be different in other programs you're participating to. On-the-spot checks is only recommended if you're part of a pilot action and you have cost for equipment and infrastructure and works. Otherwise, if you're not involved in any pilot action, considering the type of activities that we finance at Interreg Europe, so mainly exchange of experience, we do not find it necessary to implement an on-the-spot check. So then, to finish on the reporting for every partner, it's very important to report cost every semester. That's the principle of reporting. However, we also wanted to put forward that we know it might be tricky for this first reporting period, especially for the new partners and especially for the first core projects. Since the projects were already ongoing, there was the summer in between, etc. And if you do not have any cost to report because it was tricky in this reporting period, then you do not need to create a financial report. So no financial report. If you are a regular partner, meaning you're addressing a policy instrument, then you should still create a policy report and report the activities and on the policy side. If you're a discovery partner or an advisory partner, then you do not have any policy report anyway. So the principle is you report every semester. However, in case you cannot, and if this is justified exceptionally, then you do not need to have financial reports. So that will be it from my side. So I'll give back the floor to my colleagues for the questions. If you have any doubts on the presentation, I'll let you ask your questions in Slido. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ségolène. So I think we can go back to the Slido and continue replying to the questions with Vincenzo and Anne. So we have a question. It's about sick leave. If at the end of the semester somebody was on sick leave, but the organism paid the entire salary because the salaries and closure of payslip are done on the 15th of the month, can we declare it? Maybe Anne, you can intervene to this question and explain a bit in general the principles, how does it work, and what can be eligible if the person is on sick leave, and the general principles of the program on this. Anne, please.
Yes, thank you, Laria. Indeed. When a person is on sick leave, we will look at the employee, and if the employee was a regular employee of the organization working on the project, if this person has a task assignment letter and was regularly working on the project, the controller will check this, and in this case, it is up to the rules of the organization yet to see if the sick leave is eligible as a cost or not. But it can be eligible if the person was regularly working on the project. About the date, because it was done on the 15th of the month, can we declare it? I'm not sure to understand if it was done on the 15th of the month before the sick leave or after. It seems very specific, so I would really recommend maybe that you check this point with your controller. But just on the eligibility principle, cost that are very specific like this could be eligible if the staff member, is regularly working on the project.
Yes, thanks. And this is the general principle, and also something to be checked that they are not recoverable by the employer. We know, for example, this is the case sometimes not necessarily for sick leave, but for instance of other type of leave like maternity leave. Sometimes the employer recovers this type of cost, so this is something also that has to be checked. But as Anne said, always good to check with your controller your specific case. Then we have a question from Karin. Concerning uploading of supporting documents, it is not possible to upload email files. Will this be possible in the future? Maybe Vincenzo, you
Sure.
Yeah, you can address this question. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Actually, I'm a bit surprised to learn this. I must confess, I didn't know that email files it was not possible to upload them. One troubleshooting solution that I might suggest to Karin is maybe like to try to save the email in a different format, so in PDF, because that's for sure possible to upload. Or in any other format that is allowed, like, with your email client, if you can basically save it or try to print it and then save it in PDF, like this could be one solution. But maybe you can also write us an email or, after the webinar, just to better understand which format you're not able to upload, so that which format of the file, so that we can double check this and see whether this is an issue or if it is actually meant to be this way. So I hope that this gives you already a solution.
Yes, thanks a lot, Vincenzo. In the case the fixed percentage of an employee effectively changed during the same semester, how is this reported? Should we submit two different task assignment letters? Maybe Anne, we can quickly take this question. Thanks.
Yes. I will be very straightforward on this one. Yes, indeed, you should submit the two task assignment letter if they have changed during the semester. Again, as we explained previously in the first part, it has to be justified why there was this change. You have to explain this, what caused the change, and so that you are able to adjust the task assignment letter. And yes, you submit both, and then the percentage that has been modified is modified for, let's say, if you have the first 2 months with 1%, and then the other 4 months with a different percentage. This is possible.
Thanks, Anne. I see also a very straightforward question that maybe we can quickly take. Can we hire for new positions? Yes, there is no restriction on this. If you need to hire an additional person to work on the project, this is possible, and then you would report their costs following the rules applying to staff costs. So what we just explained. Then I will take another question. Our stakeholders will have to buy flight tickets for the next study visits. The expense will be made in a different semester than the visit will take place. Can we report that costs for the semester of the actual expense or for the next one? I think, Vincenzo, you already explained this point. So maybe we can just quickly go through it again.
Yeah, we can go back to it and say that, yeah, it is possible to report expenditure as long as they were paid in a given semester or reporting period. You can also, yeah, you can report them in the reporting period where the expenditure are paid, even if the activity then takes place later on in the following semester. What is important is the controller then follows up on the activity, meaning that the controller will later on in the following semester check that in this case the stakeholder actually went to the study visit and that the study visit took place. So yeah.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo. The next question is in the budget we foreseen a certain number of hours and staff to be paid for a specific sum. If we employ the mentioned number of hours of people for the foreseen number of hours, but our institution has a lower sum, can we employ more staff to execute the sum or extend the number of hours? I think if I understand this question correctly, it's basically suggesting, okay, you have a budget for staff costs in the application form, and finally, you will have lower staff costs in reality. Whether you can employ more staff or increase basically the involvement of the staff to reach your budget. Maybe we can clarify a bit the general principles on how to approach this, Anne.
Yes, indeed. Well, all this is possible. It's possible to report less staff as it was planned. I'm a bit surprised because here in the question, I understand that you planned more than what is the reality in your organization. So, okay, maybe there was a change in your organization. We don't know the specificity of your question, but in any case, you can report less staff cost. You can also employ more staff to implement the activities that are planned. You can also extend the number of hours, the percentage dedicated. We don't look at the hours again. We don't look at the timesheet. We look at the percentage of time dedicated to the project. This is possible. And so, yes, you can involve more staff so that you can use the budget that is available in your staff. This is also what we recommend also, that you implement your budget as it was planned. So indeed, both options that you mentioned are possible.
Thanks, Anne. I would also clarify on this point. Of course, we want you to comply with your budget and spend your budget at the same time. If you realize that you have overestimated your budget and you have too much compared to the activities you need to carry out, you are not, as Anne said, you can't report less. I mean, you have to report staff costs in line with the tasks and the activities of the project. If the budget was overestimated, then you will report less. There is also the flexibility rule. So maybe in the life of the project, the lead partner will realize that the budget you have not used may be needed for other activities, always in line with the project's objectives. So you don't necessarily have to increase your effort, your percentage, or employ new people just to comply with the budget. The eligibility, of course, is always determined by the relevance of the activity. So you spend what you need to spend in order to carry out the project tasks and the objectives. Now we have a question from Severin. What is the maximum deadline for filing documents on the portal for the period? So for the first period from April 2024 to 30th of September 2024. Maybe Vincenzo, you can clarify the general reporting deadline.
Sure. Yeah.
Thanks.
Absolutely. So yeah, the recommendation from the program is to compile and submit your financial report to the controller within 2 weeks after the end of the reporting period. So that will be actually mid-October. But of course, it's possible to agree on a different deadline within your partnership with your lead partner. What is important is that basically you agree on this deadline also based on the time needed for the controller to verify your expenditure. And so that eventually the lead partner will be able then to compile all the financial report and submit the progress report on time to the program, which is the deadline of the 2nd of January 2025. So as soon as the, let's say, the 3 months to report start, you can fill in, you can compile your financial report and file documents and upload documents. And yeah, the recommendation from the program is to try to submit your financial report fully and duly filled in to your controller within 2 weeks after the end of the reporting period.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo. Then I will take the question from another question from Severin. 2 employees started working on the project before 1st of April. Is it possible to include staff cost for the first quarter of 2024? So again, a question on the eligibility period. Maybe we can clarify this point from when really the eligibility of cost start for second call projects. Maybe Anne, you can take this question.
Yes, sure. Indeed, this seems to be a second call project that started in the 1st of April. So we understand that some partners, especially the lead partner, may have been involved before the 1st of April, maybe starting preparing the kickoff meeting, fulfilling the conditions with us. So it is possible to report some staff costs before the 1st of April. Still, the date of eligibility of cost is the date of approval of your project. So it is the 12th of December of 2023. Before that date, you cannot report any cost. But after that, you can report some staff costs. Of course, they have to be consistent with the actual involvement of the staff during this period. Okay, we understand it was a limited involvement in the preparation of the project.
Yes, thank you very much, Anne. We have another question also on the portal, so I will ask Vincenzo to take it. What do partners have to do in the confirm reject part on the financial report? Actually, now that I read it, I think we took this question already.
Yeah.
Nothing. This is up to the controller. After their check, they will either confirm or reject the report.
Exactly.
Maybe,
Yeah. That section is the tab is actually meant for the controller, and so that's where the controller can actually reject or confirm the financial report. One action that they can do, also the partners, is to export. This is where the button export, to export the list of expenditure and the procurement list in Excel. The button to do this, it's actually there in the confirm reject tab. So this may be useful also for the partners.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo. Can you just clarify in relation to fixing over the duration this average you discussed? Is this fixed percentage not changeable every 6 months to some degree? No, it's not. I think, as you explained, the purpose of the fixed percentage is not to be changed every semester. It can only be changed if the circumstance of the employee change, if their tasks in general change, if they are suddenly responsible for less tasks in relation to the project or more, because their overall responsibilities change. So no, it's in principle, it should not change every 6 months. We have an interesting question from Monica. The employment contract includes protected data, so we cannot share this document. Can a certificate of the company substitute it? Vincenzo, maybe you can explain a bit the supporting documents section in the portal, who can see it, and how do we ensure that this type of privacy concerns are taken into account?
Exactly. So yeah, what we can say to Monica to reassure is that the supporting document section can only be accessed by the partner organization, the specific partner organization working on the financial report and uploading the supporting documents, and their controller. So basically, the lead partner won't be able to access the supporting documents, nor will the program and the joint secretariat. So the documents are secured. And yeah, in case there is like some sensitive data, you may still upload it in the supporting document section So you shouldn't be worried about uploading also the employment contract, because it will only be the controller who is, of course, also bound to the partner organization, to the beneficiary by professional agreement, the contract, like to respect privacy and so on. So you shouldn't be worried about that.
Thanks, Vincenzo. We now have a question. Since the establishment of the organization, individuals who are related, husband and wife, have been working in team. They are both staff of the organization. Can they continue to be employed in the project? I think this question might come from the issue of conflict of interest we have raised before. But what I can say is that when we talk about conflict of interest, is mainly in the context of public procurement, so procuring external services. Unless my colleagues Vincenzo and Anne want to add anything else or understand differently the question, but you should worry about conflict of interest when you contract external providers. So not necessarily if you have two staff members who are related. So unless Vincenzo or Anne want to add anything on this point, I will go to the next question. Related to staff supporting documents, our controller is asking for project bookkeeping documents to check that the internal timesheets are exactly the same as the task assignment percentage. Is it necessary? And what can we say to this person?
Yes, well, I will just remind what is written in the program manual, that we do not need timesheet to check the involvement of the staff. We trust the task assignment letter to be right and to be the only supporting document to define the time dedicated to the project for the staff. Actually, well, you may have timesheet for other projects, you may have it for your internal management, but it is not necessary for your controller to request any timesheet. They have to check the task assignment letter, and they have to check the overall involvement of the staff according to the task assignment letter. So that's the rationale of our program. It is a simplification. We understand it's a major change that we have to get used to it. But we hope it will work.
Thanks, Anne. And now a question, could you please guide us on where to find the correction section for controllers in the portal? This is for making a correction when a mistake is identified. Yes, so after the partner report was included in the progress report and was paid. This may come from a first call project, because they are already they already submitted 2 progress reports. So maybe Vincenzo, you can explain how it will work.
Yeah, I think exactly. This comes from a first call project, and the financial correction section will soon be on the portal. It will be available, and it will be actually separated from the financial report, so that basically we'll be able to report correction at any point in time, and then the amount of the correction will be deducted from the first payment that needs to be done to the project. So this is as much as we can tell you at the moment. The section, the module for the financial correction will be available soon on the portal. It's currently under development, so it will soon be there. But it's good to see that you are already on it and willing to go through it. So we can provide you also further guidance when the moment you have to report such a correction comes, and when the module is actually online on the portal.
Thanks, Vincenzo. Now I take the question from Joanna. So very straightforward question to a very straightforward reply. Is it possible to export the report to Excel, Vincenzo?
The list of expenditure and procurement list, yes. So the financial report, the most important part of the financial report, yes. The progress report, no.
Thanks.
Straightforward.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo. Now a question on the sampling and the exchange rate, if I read it correctly. What to do when the sampling was done, but the declared amount in national currency is not correct? Does the national controller just correct amount in euro, or should it be stated in the control checklist? Well, in principle, as Ségolène also explained before in our presentation, the exchange rate, is automatically applied to the declared amount in the system. So I'm a bit struggling to try to find a reason why the controller should correct it. I don't know if Vincenzo and Anne wants to add anything to this question, but I would say that the exchange rate is applied in the system, taking into account the commission exchange rate. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if this addressed the question, but like maybe it might be the case where the original amount in the national currency is wrong, but the exchange rate that is applied anyway automatically by the portal is correct. So, but since like it is the original amount that is wrong, then the final amount converted in euro is also wrong. And in this case, I guess that yes, the controller might actually might actually correct this, and this should be anyway documented like in the control checklist, and there is a field that the controller has anyways like to fill in with the confirmed expenditure in euros. But yeah, adequate documentation in the control checklist is always necessary. So I don't know if this answered the question, Ila, but maybe we can ask also this person to further elaborate or get back to us by email.
I think what we can also say is that, in fact, since the exchange rate is applied automatically to the declared amount, the controller should not correct the declared amount. If there is a corrections to be made, is only to the amount declared in euro. So I think this element may also help addressing this question. So we can move forward. How to check the unplanned expenses? I will take this one because we didn't tackle this yet. Do we have to have the agreement of the lead partner or the JS? Anne, maybe you can clarify on this.
Yes. When you have some expenditure that is not planned, we do recommend that you always check with your lead partner, because your lead partner is the one that is monitoring the budget, the overall budget of the project. So they have to have an overview. They have to know when there is unplanned expenditure. So yes, you have to check with the lead partner. Then there are two cost categories where the unplanned expenditure has to be checked and validated, agreed by the Joint Secretariat before reporting. That is equipment. If you have some equipment costs that are unplanned and you didn't have some equipment budget, for instance, you have to ask your lead partner to check with the Joint Secretariat. Always if you are a partner, you go through your lead partner, and then the lead partner contacts the Joint Secretariat. This is the lead partner principle. The other cost category that is much more exceptional, that is infrastructure and works, that is only for project partners that have a pilot action. So I will mention especially the equipment cost category when you have to check with the Joint Secretariat. Otherwise, an unplanned expenditure, except if you have a major doubt about the eligibility of the cost, will it be eligible? Otherwise, you may check with your lead partner, who will be the one giving you the green light or giving you feedback anyway on your unplanned expenditure.
Yes, thanks, Anne. I think we can just also add that in case this question comes from a controller, then you may want to check with the lead partner if they agree to this unplanned cost. So sometimes controllers need a bit of reassurance that if the cost is unplanned, the lead partner, who is the one having an overview on all these type of changes, has agreed to it. So yes, you may ask the lead partner if it's fine. Then we have a question from Miriana. Should we pay the percentage of staff salary to the separate account aimed for the project and then transfer to the staff member account? I'm not really sure I fully understand this question. I don't know if Vincenzo and Anne
I must say that the question is a bit unclear. Maybe Miriana, you can try to rephrase it a bit, and because because the percentage, it's the one that is reimbursed by the program, and it's the one that is reported to the program. But of course, like the employee will still be paid the entire amount of the salary. So I'm not sure really we follow this question.
Thanks, Vincenzo. Then we have another question on staff costs, related staff costs, can the salary percentage be fixed as a daily rate? For example, 30% of employment in the project correspond to 7 days of work according to the employment contract. Yeah, maybe again, we can again clarify the principle of the fixed percentage. Anne?
Yes, well, what I read in this question is very specific. It's difficult for us to answer because the number of days in 1 month of work depends on the organization, depends also in every country. So 30% of the employment contract can be a different percentage depending on how you count the days. But this is up to you to understand what is 30% of your employment contract, how much time it represents, and how much time this person will dedicate to the project. This is an overall understanding. And as we said, it's anyway an average. So you have to define a bit along the project how much time it will represent. This is up to you to make the calculation. But we don't need any daily rate. This is at the end of the question. We don't need any daily rate. We need a percentage that applies to the monthly gross employment cost.
Thanks, Anne. I also had a quick look at the chat and I saw that Tiana clarified a bit her question on the declared amount. And she's saying that the declared amount is not correct according to the calculation after the sampling was done. So if, as a controller, you detect that the declared amount is not correct and you have to, for instance, the declared amount is higher, as a controller in the column confirmed amount, you can confirm a different amount. And then there will be a column where you have to indicate the reason for this correction. And then you will indicate, for example, that there was an error in the calculation. Now, I don't remember exactly the list of reasons you can select. But indeed, if the amount declared is wrong, this is exactly the type of correction you can do as controller. You would confirm, you have the possibility to confirm in the financial report, in the list of expenditure, a different amount, and then indicate the reason for this correction. I hope that this addition to our reply was sufficient to clarify this point. And then I will go back to the questions. So Caroline asks, if a member of our institute participates only in one external activity, I understand they must be reimbursed through staff travel costs. But do they also need a task assignment letter? Vincenzo, maybe you can take this question.
Yes, thanks a lot. And yeah, good question. This was also, I would say, addressed earlier during the webinar today. Persons who are staff members of the partner organization, even though they are not involved in project activities, and so even though they do not have a task assignment letter, they can travel to a project activity, and their travel and accommodation cost will be covered by the flat rate.
Thanks, Vincenzo. Then another question from Denise. In our case, the net salary is not paid on the same days as the contribution. We have to report for each staff monthly. For example, the net salary was paid on 24th of September, while the contribution on the 2nd of August. Which date should I put in the column date of payment? So basically for the salary, for the line where you're reporting the salary costs, you will have to pay, you have to indicate the date of payment for the salary. If the contributions are paid separately, I mean, it's not really an issue to put the same date of the salary as long as it's paid in the same reporting period. The issue might come a bit more if the costs are then paid, part of the costs are paid after the end of the reporting period, where in principle, you can only report costs that are paid within the period. But if both the salary and the contribution are paid within the same, within the eligibility period, then you can choose which date to put. You can also see with your controller. For us, the important thing is that everything is paid by the end of the reporting period. I don't know if my colleagues want to add anything or this is fine, so we move on. Procurement section in the portal, the contracts, it says that the contracts, the value must be equal or greater than 10,000 euros. Contract amount excluding VAT. Is that correct? Maybe I can just reply yes, but yeah, I don't know if Vincenzo wants to add anything.
I think it was clarified also by the presentation from Ségolène. So yeah, this is what the portal asks you. This is what we ask you to record in the procurement section. But of course, it doesn't mean that like this is not by any mean a threshold at program level. So there might still be like some public procurement rules to be applied for contracts below 10,000 euros, and the controller will still have to check the compliance with public procurement also for expenditure and contracts that are below this threshold.
Thanks, Vincenzo. Then a question from Mira regarding the reporting of staff costs in portal. Should it be for all the employees together for 1 month or for each of them separately? I think we said this several times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Each employee by month.
Thanks. Miriana, we have a question from her. If we did not pay anything this semester, we have only percentage of salaries that are part of our co-financing for the project. Should we report this in the financial report? If I understand correctly the question, Miriana, you do not have any costs that were paid in this semester. If you don't have any costs that were actually paid in this semester, then you cannot report in this semester. Only costs that are paid can be reported. I don't know if Anne wants to add anything.
Yeah, from the question, I understand that that Mariana, they have salary costs that have been paid. This is what I understand, even though they consider that they are your co-financing. However, in Interreg Europe, you report all the costs, whatever they are, the part that will be paid by the program, or they will be your co-financing. You have to report 100% of your expenditure. So if you have some salary costs that have been paid in the semester, you can report them. They will also trigger the flat rate for office and administration, and travel and accommodation. So if you have paid some salaries cost in the semester and implemented some activities that correspond to it, yes, you can report it.
Thanks, Anne, for completing. We now have a question. Once a partner financial report has been approved by the controller, is it automatically included in the overall report, or does the lead partner have to include it manually? If so, can it be done by an admin account or needs to be linked to the lead partner organization? I think this is the perfect question for you, Vincenzo. So
yes, perfect, because it gives us the opportunity to go back to the workflow with the financial report. So after the financial report has been verified and confirmed by the controller, it is still required for the partners to have like some sort of conscious action, or like an explicit action. So it must be the partner to submit the certified financial report to the lead partner. And then it must be the lead partner to include it in the joint progress report. So financial report needs to be first confirmed by the controller, then submitted to the lead partner by the partner, and then included in the joint progress report by the lead partner.
Thanks, Vincenzo. Should the work contract be in English? If yes, should they be officially translated? No, it doesn't have to be in English. Your contract is in your national language. The controller will be your national controller, so they will check it, and there is no need to translate it. Then another question, whether discovery partners need to prepare policy report or only the financial report for staff costs, without any information about specific activities realization. Yes, interesting question. So how can the discovery partner report on their activities? I think this is the question, because they are not having a policy report. Maybe Vincenzo or Anne?
Yeah, and we can also ask the policy officer to integrate the answer in case we say something wrong. But yeah, a financial report, of course, like discovery partners, they have to report their expenditures, so they have to submit a financial report. Since they do not address any policy instruments, they won't have to submit a policy report, but they will still have to communicate to the lead partner the activities that they were involved in and the activities that they have carried out, for the lead partner to compile this information in section 1 of the progress report. So this is more or less the answer that I will give. But
yes.
yeah.
I think no policy officer would correct you on this, Vincenzo. So yes, indeed, discovery partners having to report on activities to the lead partner outside the portal, and then the lead partner will put it in the joint progress report. Lyuba from Ukraine, our city council is a discovery partner in the project. Currently, we do not have the opportunity to report financial expenses due to the nuances of budget legislation in Ukraine. Can we submit a blank report? So Lyuba, thanks very much for this question, because I think it allows to clarify several points. First, we know that from Ukraine, the partners from Ukraine may not be able to report in these first reports. So because the control body is not yet fully operational. So if by the time you have to report this, the situation will not be changed and you cannot report, there is no need to submit a blank report. So I think this was mentioned already. Zero reports should not be submitted. So you don't have to do a financial report. What we can suggest is that you can start working on it. So you can start creating a financial report. You can start getting familiar with the list of expenditure, the different sections of the report, to see how it looks, and then start to fill it in. Also, if you have doubts, you can always refer to your lead partner. And once the control system will be fully in place and the control body will start their job, then you can submit to the controller. And so we hope this will speed up a bit the procedure. And as Vincenzo said, on activities, you should still report on activities to your lead partner, who will include it in the progress report. Then I pass to another question related to the reported staff costs. So 1 month, I see different percentages in different months. Is it correct to report separately, or 16% the same for every month? Okay, the average is 16% for the whole semester. So if the average is 16, if you, at the beginning of the project, you calculated that on average, the person is involved at 16% of their time, yes, then you report 16% as fixed percentage, and assuming this is also the percentage reflected in the task assignment letter. Okay, I'm going a bit quickly because I see we don't have so much time, but we have a few questions left, so we'll try to address those that were submitted already. So again, Miriana is asking, we have a percentage of staff costs for travel and for external services. What if we don't spend this percentage, but we paid for staff as it was in the budget? Vincenzo and Anne, do you want to comment?
I can take it if you...
Yeah,
sure.
thanks.
Well, yeah, I understand you talk about the percentage for travel and accommodation, that you have a flat rate that is allocated depending on the staff cost you are reporting and that you paid for. That's fine. I don't understand about the external services. Maybe it's about the office and administration cost. This will not be checked. It is a flat rate that is allocated to you because you spent the staff cost. So then with this flat rate, you should have enough budget to cover for the travel of your staff to attend the events of the project and for the office and administration. That's all, but it will not be checked by the controller.
Is it a problem if we pay travel and accommodation from the private account from a staff member? If I read the question, I assume it refers to the situation where you reimburse travel costs directly to the staff member, and whether this is possible. Vincenzo, do you also read the question like this?
Yeah,
do you have anything to comment?
Yeah, no, I would read it in the same way, so that like basically, yeah, as a staff member is like, how to say, advancing like the expenditure for travel and accommodation, and like then they will be reimbursed by the employer, and in that case they will be included in the travel and accommodation flat rate.
So if another question is about financial correction, if financial correction according to COCOF, I think they are referring to the Commission guidelines on public procurement, is applied to public procurement in the current report, does it need to be reported in part financial correction? Maybe this question, I mean, is about public procurement, but in general, it allows us to clarify and to go back a bit to the difference between financial correction and corrections that are made in the financial report. Vincenzo.
Yes. So yeah, what we can say is that if the financial report is still open, or even if the progress report is still open, the financial report can always be sent back to the partner, and so you can actually carry out all the corrections directly in the list of expenditures. So if there is an expenditure that is ineligible, if you still have access to the financial report, then you can simply remove it from the list of expenditure. But if the financial report was included in the progress report and the progress report was paid and everything, then you will need to use the financial correction model.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo. We have a question about the partner contribution, and it's the first time we receive it, so I'm happy to read it. What is partner contribution from private sources on portal in financial overview section? What do partners have to input here? And maybe we can explain a bit this part of the financial report.
Yes, this partner contribution from private sources is only for partners that are with private legal status. So it's private bodies, and only if they have a partner contribution in their private sources, in the application form. In that case, their contribution has to be allocated also to private sources in the report. But if in your partnership, if you are a lead partner, for example, and in your partnership you have only public partners that have all in the application form, that have all their partner contribution allocated to public sources, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to care about it.
Thanks, Anne. Then we have a remark question by Anonymous. Please think about sensitive data access, especially in supporting documents tab, which should allow us to select which registered user from our institution can see the sensitive data. Yes, actually, I thank you for this comment because it allows us to add a point that we didn't mention before. We are currently developing a way to basically restrict the access to the documents to certain users of the partner. So in principle, in the future, you will have this possibility, because we are currently developing the possibility that you will be able to restrict basically the access to supporting documents to certain people in your organization. So this is not for the first time we received this remark, so we are developing this possibility. Then another question, we are a discovery partner. At the moment, this project is the only one in our organization, meaning we cannot show 100% employment for the staff. One possible solution is we have signed an employment contract for 5 days a week. That means 30%. Is this the correct approach? Maybe, Anne, we can provide some general principles trying to address this specific question.
Yes, it seems quite specific, and to be honest, I'm not sure I fully understand the approach that you are suggesting, because if I read correctly, I read 5 days a week. That means 30%, which for me, 5 days a week, I understand it's 100% of the working time. So I'm not sure I understand this approach. Anyway, if you have some staff that is not working full time, that is maybe the question, and you have a contract only for, let's say a few days a week, and the contract covers only this, what you call 30%, but maybe the contract covers only 3 days or 2 days a week, you can report also full time 100% of this contract, because in that case, the contract is only for 3 days a week or 5 days a week, and this is the contract. And so it means 100% of the contract is allocated to the project. This can be the rationale. I'm not sure I answered the question. I hope I clarified a bit the approach. Otherwise, you can get back to us or check with your lead partner and then ask your lead partner to check with us, or you can also ask your controller for further advice on this.
Yes, thanks, Anne. I want to take the next question is about procurement. If the procurement is not included in the sample below or above 10,000 euros, this shouldn't be checked by national controller, but above 10,000 euros, it will be included in the list of procurement. Vincenzo, can you try to clarify a bit this point?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying like to re-go through the question.
If I read it correctly,
okay. So if it's well, if it's not part of the sample, regardless of the threshold, like I mean, if it's not part of the sample, reasonably the controller won't have to check that specific expenditure. But in fact, actually, according to the risk-based management verification methodology, the items that are related to a certain contract, especially if the contract later on was changed, they are included by priority in the sample. So I'm not sure we will have a situation where, where an expenditure item is not included in the sample if it's connected to a contract, and then, like, yeah, the controller should check the compliance with the public procurement rules, regardless of the threshold. The threshold of 10,000 euro is only meant for the list of procurements in the financial report, because only contracts above 10,000 euro have to be included there. But this doesn't mean that you don't need to comply with public procurement rules below this threshold. There will be surely like some applicable rules, and the controller has to check them if the expenditure is included in the sample.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo. Indeed, I think reading the question well, we'll probably not face that situation. The contract will be part of the sample in line with the methodology. We have reached the last two questions, both about staff costs. Should we indicate on the reporting platform about all gross employment costs employees who are involved in the project, or only the amount which concerns the staff costs of the project? I'm not sure I really understand the difference between these two situations. I assume they are both referring to staff cost of employees involved in the project. So I don't know if Anne wants to add something.
Yeah, from what I understand, the first part is if you want to, if you provide in the platform, in the portal, either the total employment gross cost, or if you provide only the percentage that is allocated to the project. This is what I understand. But anyway, the principle is clear. In the list of expenditure, you only list the cost that correspond to the project. So it's only the percentage that is indicated in the task assignment letter. If a staff is dedicated 30% to the project, in your list of expenditure, you will only list the 30% of the gross employment cost that correspond to the cost of your employee corresponding to the project only. I hope it answers.
Yes, thanks, Anne. Then we have another last question from Pau about staff cost. With total amount declared, we calculate ourselves what the income is. If the employee works full-time for the organization and 50% of the project, then this is half. Or do we also have to calculate that the organization finances 20% of this? Vincenzo.
I think this was briefly touched by Anne when answering another questions earlier about like the 20% partner contribution. Regardless of this, what you report in the portal with regards, for example, to the staff cost is like the gross employment costs per month multiplied multiplied by the fixed percentage. So you will report 50% of the gross employment cost per month in this case. And then the partner contribution is calculated later on in the financial report.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo. I think we replied to all questions, I hope. I hope this was useful. There will also be an evaluation at the end. Actually, the evaluation is already here. Perfect. So please give us feedback on the webinar so that we can also improve for our future webinars. This is very important for us. So please let us know and respond to the feedback poll that appeared on your screen. And then, yes, some final words. If you have additional questions, yes, don't hesitate to check if our FAQ help center section of the website, if there is any any useful information that can help address your question there. And if you still have a question, if you're a partner, please get in touch with your lead partner, who will get in touch with their policy and finance officers. If you are a lead partner, of course, you know, you can always send an email to your finance and policy officers. And yes, we really hope that this webinar was useful. And yes, thank you very much.